I'm going to show you how to convert to the lab color format and also illustrate some advantages to working in lab. So I'm starting out with a RAW file. The reason for this is that we can develop RAW files straight to 16-bit precision. Now lab has a huge color gamut. It is vast and it needs the resolution of 16-bit precision for optimal quality. Additionally, what I'll also do is enable profiles down here and set my output profile to ROM RGB. Now the reason I've done this is that when we develop a RAW file, we have to develop to RGB first. And so in order to make sure the maximum amount of color information is carried across, we're going to use ROM RGB rather than sRGB. So ROM RGB is essentially a version of ProPhoto that ships with the software. Okay, so having done that, we will now go to Document and choose Convert Format /ICC Profile. And here we can change from RGB 16 to Lab 16. We only have one profile, a D50 illuminant, that's fine. We'll click Convert and we are now in Lab. So let's just explore a little bit about what lab is, okay? So in terms of color models, whereas RGB is additive, so you add red, green and blue to produce the final sum, and CMYK is the opposite, it's subtractive, lab is instead based on the color opponent process, and it's designed to mimic the human visual system. So in other words, how we perceive light and color. So one of the main advantages of lab is that lightness and color information are treated separately. For example, if I add a curves adjustment and I go to my channel target down here, I have lightness and then A and B opponent. So A and B opponent are the color information channels. I can target lightness and start manipulating nodes on the graph here, and you can see I am indeed just treating the lightness in the image. I'm not touching the color information at all. Let's do the opposite and manipulate the color information. So this time I'll add a channel mixer adjustment and I'll switch from lightness to A opponent. And let's mix A and B opponent together. So for A opponent I'll type 50 and for B opponent I'll type 50 as well. Okay, and we have here quite a dramatic color shift. But you know what? It looks quite pleasing and natural, almost as if it were expected. And this is one of the beauties of treating colors in lab. So if I just hide that, we can see the original image with its quite green color cast. And then the channel mixer modifying those channels. And yes, it looks very natural. Okay, so the one thing you will find with colors in lab is that they can be quite sensitive. So for example, if I change this from say 80 to 20, okay, and we zoom right in and then I hide the channel mixer adjustment, you'll see we've got a very subtle change in tones here, okay? So lab is great for correcting or actually introducing color shifts or color casts into your images. Okay, so let's round off with a couple of ideas in terms of manipulating channels then. So I'm going to select the background pixel layer, and down here I have the pixel layer's channels. So I can right-click lightness and create a mask layer from it. Okay, then what I might do is add a blank pixel layer here, and I'm going to click drag and offer that mask to the pixel layer. So that pixel layer is now masked to just the lightness in the image. Then if I use the paintbrush tool, let's increase the width and reduce the hardness. In fact, I'll increase the width even more using the right bracket key on my keyboard. Then set the color to a pure white and start painting into the graffiti here. You'll see I can really bring out the prominence of the graffiti in the image. Okay, now if I just hide that mask, this is what the pixel layer would look like if it were affecting all of the channels together. But because we can mask it to just the lightness, we have a very powerful option of quickly highlighting detail within an image, as you can see here. Okay, and finally then, I'm going to select the background pixel layer again. This time I'll right-click the A opponent color channel and I'll choose Create Grayscale Layer. Okay, so we now have a grayscale layer from the A opponent channel information, and we can experiment with the blend mode. So for example, I could try multiply or perhaps something like hard light. And I can also move it around in the layer stack. So let's bring it above the brushwork layer. There's a slight difference there. And then tweak the opacity. And as you can see, we can just use grayscale channel information to very quickly accentuate certain details within the image. Okay, and that will about do it. So there we go, just a quick look at how to convert to lab and how to take advantage of what it can offer us for our image editing.